Coming to number 12. I don't know what I just said. Number 12, that's better. On the algebra worksheet, it's 4x squared plus 7x minus 135 equals 0. We're going to use the quadratic formula. First thing you do with the quadratic formula is you identify all the parts. So a is equal to 4, that's the number in front of the x squared. B is equal to 7, that's the number in front of the x. And C is equal to negative 135. And that's the constant number that does not have an x. The next thing I do is I set up my equation. So x equals, the first part of my equation says negative b. Again, that's the opposite of b. So b is 7, I'm going to use negative 7. Plus or minus the square root of, the next part says b squared. I never type in the number squared. Even if I don't know the number squared, I'll use my calculator to figure it out first. Because if I write down a negative number here and I square it, using my calculator is not going to do what I want it to do. So b is 7, b squared is 49. So negative b, the opposite of b, plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4, that's always part of the quadratic formula, times a is 4, times c is negative 135. So negative 4 times a times c, all divided by 2 times a. I'm not going to write down 2 times 4 because I know 2 times 4. 2 times 4 is 8. I don't want to type that into my calculator. I just want to know what that is. Maybe I type in 2 times a in my calculator, but I don't want to do that when I'm trying to use my calculator to do the quadratic formula. So I'm going to say this in each video that I do. I'm going to show you one way to solve this on your calculator, kind of a step-by-step process, and that way works on every single calculator, or almost every single calculator, the vast majority of any that I've seen in class. That way, if you're using a calculator and you forget it and you have to borrow one from me or your teacher, you know how to do it correctly. The more you type in your calculator at once, the more likely you are to make a mistake. So the first step then is to look at the positive square root. So x equals negative 7 plus the square root of b squared, 49, minus 4 times a, which was 4, times c, all over the 2a. So it's going to equal something over 8, and that's going to equal something. So we're going to use our calculator. So let's see, was it positive or negative? Negative 7 plus the square root. Your square root opens up a parentheses for you. The way I'm showing you how to do this problem, you don't even need to close the parentheses. Some calculators just put it underneath the radical, and that's the same thing. So negative 7 plus or minus the square root of b squared. Since b was 7, b squared is 49. Minus 4 times a. I believe a was 4. I'm going to double check. Yeah, a was 4, and c is negative 135. So b squared minus 4 times a times c, and then hit enter. That gives me 40. 40 divided by 8 then, if you need to use your calculator you can, but my answer is 5. So x equals 5 for the positive answer. Then I'm going to use, not positive answer, but the positive square root when I did negative 7 plus the square root. Now I'm going to do x equals negative 7 minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c, all over 2 times a. 2 times a was 8. So same thing, but with the negative. So negative 7 minus, instead of plus, the square root of b squared minus 4 times the a value times the c value gives me negative 54. The next thing I'm going to do is divide by 8. And so it's negative 6.75. So we had negative 54, and then divided by 8 was negative 6.75. Don't round that. That's an exact answer. Leave it as an exact answer. Just double checking. Negative 6.75. There's your two answers.